The question they wanted to know what kind. I know he's gonna wild out and he's gonna do something crazy. Everybody wanted to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
So the other day, the Grammy nominations got announced, and I don't know what people are focusing on, but what piques my interest is the Grammy nominations for the album of the year. Regardless of who wins, people are going to be mad that they won, because that's just how people are. But the album that really does interest me, and whether they win or not, is DONDA by Kanye West. If DONDA is to win this year, it will kind of transcend the hate that the Grammys have for hip-hop, with the exception of the miseducation of Lauryn Hill and Outkast's Speaker Bots / The Love Below. No hip-hop album has won the album of the year. And when looking at these two, they rely heavy on R&B. It's more, or at least half R&B and half rapping. So it's easier to see why they got the award. I want to look at the 5 albums that best exemplify the problem that I have with no rap album winning album of the year. It's just something that shouldn't happen. The first album that I think we should look at is Good Kid, Mad City. If there's an album that deserved to win album of the year that's a rap album, it would be Good Kid, Mad City. It had the perfect mix of some pop, innovation, dope lyrics, and a cool album concept. For those who don't know, Good Kid, Mad City is like a short film that only provides the audio. And although not in chronological order, the story is pretty cool as it follows Kendrick getting set up by this girl he likes, and when he goes to meet her, he gets jumped. There's a couple of interludes or skits where Kendrick's mom is worried because he took her band, and if you actually follow the story, it's pretty rewarding. With that being said, this album did not win album of the year. It didn't even win rap album of the year. He would lose to Macklemore and Ryan Lewis for The Heist. Everybody though kind of recognized that this was kind of bullshit. Even Macklemore himself, who texted Kendrick an apology. If we look at his apology, I think it's funny because like the contact name is Real Kendrick, which kind of implies the existence of a fake Kendrick. So somebody probably gave him like a fake Kendrick Lamar number. But there's still no way Kendrick should have lost that year. And the same can be said for Daft Punk, but I guess you can make the argument that Daft Punk was at the time more established and they had Get Lucky, which was a big hit, and you can probably argue that the impact that they had made at the time was more than Kendrick's. But still though, I think Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City kind of override that, and just by the concept alone, I think that gives it enough merit to win. But let's move on. In 2004, Kanye West would drop The College Dropout, and it would actually get nominated. The album was an instant hit with songs like Slow Jams, Jesus Walk, All Falls Down, and some other tracks that are really beloved within hip-hop. Kanye spends the whole album talking about subject matters around society in 2004 that kind of still apply today, you know, like school being a scam. I say this as a first semester college student, which is why the videos are not getting out as much as they should, by the way. But he also talks about something like Christianity and Jesus Walks, work in retail and spaceships, and a lot about materialism in certain parts of the album, especially in All Falls Down. The instrumentation is pretty good, especially because it was 2004, and, you know, it's Kanye West. When you look at the lyricism from top to bottom, like from We Don't Care in the first track to Last Call in the last track, it is magnificent. This album is full of quotables, and still I argue it should have won album of the year, but I can see why not. You know, it's Kanye's first album. He's definitely not established, at least not established enough to win Best New Artist over Maroon 5 that same night. And listen, Maroon 5 at the time, they were good, but they're not Kanye West. So maybe it was just the right album at the wrong time. And that can happen sometimes. You know, it's like in basketball when someone has an incredible year, but whoever wins MVP just had a better year. It happens sometimes. Moving on to 2017, Jay-Z would drop 444. This would be Hov's first nomination into the Rap Album of the Year award. His competition would be people like Lorde and Kendrick Lamar, who I've already highlighted, but damn also can put up a solid argument in this fight. I choose to focus on Jay-Z's 444 though, mainly because the context behind the 444 album. It was Jay-Z's response to Beyonce's Lemonade, which was an album that people thought should have won Best Album of the Year, but didn't for some reason. Again, I don't know. So this is his response to that album where Beyonce kind of exposes that Jay-Z has been cheating, and she talks about a whole bunch of other stuff that isn't like relevant to this right now. And Jay-Z takes it head on from the first track and killed Jay-Z. Then when listening to the album, that song bleeds into Story of OJ. It's a nice commentary on black people in America, capitalism, the rap game, and OJ, of course.
Okay.
The title track would go more in depth with how he feels about the relationship with him and Beyonce and how he regrets cheating on her. A track where he gives advice to the younger artists like Moonlight in one of his best flows in a while, maybe even of his career, in Marcy Me, which also has a nice sound. Like the last 20 seconds of Marcy Me is beautiful, and that's thanks to the production of No ID, who actually produces the whole album. For those who don't know, No ID is Kanye West's mentor. And considering Jay-Z is already an established person, that should be enough. Unfortunately, Bruno Mars would beat him out with 24 Karat Magic, but I get why it happened. Like, this Bruno at his peak popularity. 24 Karat Magic was a massive hit, and Jay-Z is a little past his prime in terms of popularity. Still though, that doesn't change the fact that an album like 444 is way better than 24 Karat Magic, no disrespect to Bruno. And it also kind of makes you wonder how this is the only album that Jay-Z has gotten nominated for in terms of album of the year, considering he has classics like The Blueprint and The Black Album, which were crazy, and arguably his best work. But let's keep moving on to the next album, which is Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. After the whole fiasco with Kendrick Lamar getting snubbed for Rap Album of the Year with Good Kid Mad City, the Grammys will kind of make up for it by trying to give him all the awards, except Best Album of the Year for some reason. It will lose to Taylor's 1989, which although it is a good pop album, it isn't a classic. It's not something that people are remembering now. Its influence is very minimal, and outside of like popularity, there's nothing really that you can argue for. I've seen some of the Taylor defenders kind of say that this is the album that introduced throwback pop, but that's cap, because Bruno Mars did it with Uptown Funk. Amy Winehouse was doing it like a decade early, and yeah, it wasn't like the same thing, but still, like, it's not a new concept. A song like All Right is the type of song that lives on forever, and the album is much more than just politics, by the way. He talks a lot about his mental health and how fame kind of ruined him, how he blames himself for not being with his friend when he died. Again, he covers religion, money, he covers a lot of things in here, and me explaining it doesn't do it justice. He was also being very creative with the jazz elements that were being used, you know, with the help of people like Pharrell Williams in the album. And again, Taylor Swift's album might be more commercially successful and have more popular songs, but like when we look at iconic songs and the songs that people will play 40, 50 years from now, I don't see how All Right is not being played, unless somehow America gets like not racist or some shit. Maybe then, but until then, which is not gonna happen, alright? Not to get political here, but it's not gonna happen. It really is the modern day fight the power or fuck the police. There's a song like King Kunta, which is more pop oriented, like for the mainstream type song, but still, even that works. The only thing that I can explain for why To Pimp a Butterfly didn't win is that for a major audience, it might be too much politics. But again, objectively speaking, there's no reason why 1989 should have won over To Pimp a Butterfly. And the last album I want to look at is Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Throughout this video, I tried to point out reasons why an album might not win the award when it probably should, and this album kind of covers it all. This isn't the Kanye West that we saw in 2004, and the albums that he dropped after College Dropout also got nominations for Album of the Year, whether it be Late Registration or Graduation, which also have a valid case for why they should have won Album of the Year. But still, most people consider My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy to be Kanye's best album, after going through several controversies from the George Bush to the Taylor Swift, which exiled Kanye basically. This was Kanye's redemption album. It had everybody that you might want to have. Jay-Z, Elton John, Chris Rock, Kid Cudi, Drake, Fergie, Rihanna, all these motherfuckers were in that album. In terms of popular songs, Power was its first single, and Power was everywhere in 2011. It had this unique feel that wasn't too experimental, but it was creative enough. The video for it, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what it means, but it looks fucking dope. He even dropped the Christmas song after he dropped the album. Like, look at this video that I made. Yeah, a song like All of the Lights also was like everywhere, and again, it was unique, but it wasn't too experimental. It feels like everybody knows Nicki Minaj's verse on Monster, which was one of the highlights of the album. When we look at a song like Devil in a New Dress, where Rick Ross' verse, he was so proud of it that he started crying apparently. The iconic Runaway with Pusha T, which was premiered at the VMAs, the same place where Kanye was basically exiled and shamed when he interrupted Taylor Swift's. It doesn't get too political, but it still covers things like racism. He's being self-aware. He's also saying fuck you to the people who doubted him. And don't get me wrong, he does get experimental throughout the album. It's Kanye at its flashiest, and yet it didn't even get nominated. Looking at the list of the people who got nominated in hindsight, it looks kind of wild that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy wouldn't be up there. And although there is a case for Adele's 21, I think looking at what we've looked at throughout this video, I think it would be inconsistent to say, oh yeah, but Adele over Kanye. Which is why I wonder who's voting for these awards. It doesn't make sense that Good Kid, Mad City doesn't win, but at the same time, an album like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy doesn't even get nominated. And for reference of how different these albums have been viewed ever since, Adele's 21 is 137 in Rolling Stone's top 500 greatest albums of all time. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is number 17. When you think about how big the gap is between Adele and Kanye, it makes zero sense that Kanye does not have the best album of the year. It didn't even get nominated, by the way, which is fucking crazy. So going into 2021, it gets even kind of crazier. To me, it's kind of obvious that Donda is not gonna win album of the year, but I do hope it does. It will be a nice change of pace for what has been a weird award when it comes to rap. There's also the possibility that Lil Nas X and Doja Cat win, which I guess would be cool, but their album is also very heavily pop based or R&B as well. It's not really rap. And I guess you could say that Donda is very gospel based, but not really. And I guess Kanye shouting out God every once in a while. This album really isn't gospel, not in my opinion. And I guess Grammys would agree because they have it nominated as Best Rap Album of the Year as well. I sure hope that Kanye West can pull through and win. And of course, it would be funny to see the Kanye West Taylor Swift memes. Other than that though, I am rooting for Baby Keem winning Best New Artist. I know he didn't make Driver's License, but Olivia Rodrigo did not make Family Ties or Range Brothers. So, you know, Rover Gang. And with that being said, Jay Dilla, take us out.